All right, next on our program are two incredible doctors who are here to, with their medical knowledge, explain to us exactly why glyphosate is dangerous for human health. Our first doctor is Dr. Jeff Ritterman. He's from San Francisco. He's on the board of Physicians for Social Responsibility in the San Francisco Bay Area. And if you have not yet read these articles, you have to go to Truth Out and find Jeff Ritterman's articles on Truth Out. He's got some great information, which he's going to share with us today about why glyphosate is so harmful to human health.
Thank you.
Yay!
Good morning. Thank you all for being here. Good morning, Creve Coeur Police. Thank you for protecting us. If it was only that easy for us to be protected from Monsanto by a handful of you, we wouldn't be here, but it's not that easy. So I want to start with a quote from somebody who understands something about nature, Jane Goodall, and she said, "How could we ever have believed that it was a good idea to grow our food with poisons?"
Yeah, right.
The reason some people think it's a good idea to grow our food with poisons is because they don't understand how biology works. They live and work in here. They think that we can bend nature to our will, to man's will. And in fact, the pesticide industry really started right after World War II, and the nerve gases that were used in the war were tweaked by our chemists, and those are our first pesticides. So this is the history that we have started, and it's this idea that you could bend biological systems and make them into factories, which is a fallacy and which is exactly how they're thinking in there. Vandana Shiva talked about this level of hubris that human beings have, that we can just bend nature and make it work the way we want. And she said, GMO stands for God, move over. What is the GMO, the biotech enterprise, really? It's basically putting a gene for tolerance to a pesticide in a seed, period. That's it. So Monsanto, this company, now makes seeds for soy, corn, canola, alfalfa, cotton, what am I forgetting, sugar beets. All of them are known as Roundup resistant or Roundup tolerant, which means that you can spray heavily in those fields, supposedly not killing the cash crop, kill all the weeds, and that's the big advantage. Okay, that's basically what GMOs are. It's putting a gene in the seed that allows you to spray with what you think is impunity, everything else with a poison. The entire house of cards is based on the fallacy that this glyphosate, this Roundup, does not hurt us. And even now, Monsanto is going around and saying, you don't have to worry, because the way Roundup works is it interferes with this enzyme system, EPSP synthase, and only plants have it. Your pet doesn't have it, your dog and cat doesn't have it, you don't have it, so you can spray this stuff, you can ingest this stuff, and you don't have to worry. That's basically the argument. But we know that argument's not true, and Monsanto knows that argument's not true. Because since the 1980s, they have known that low doses of Roundup, of their herbicide, glyphosate, which by the way is the most popular herbicide in the world right now, they have known since the 1980s that low doses cause cancer in animals, which they have kept a secret. And they have known since the 1990s, high doses in the 1980s, and they have known since the 1990s that medium doses and low doses cause cancer in animals. And that's been documented. There's a famous article, Roundup causing birth defects, is the public being kept in the dark. And we have been kept in the dark. But now we know. And a lot of what we know comes from Latin America. There is something in Latin America called the Soy Republic now. It's 125 million acres. I live in the state of California. California is 102 million acres. So there is an area in Latin America, in Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Bolivia, that's 25% bigger than the state of California, where genetically modified soy is grown. And there are huge fields, and they are sprayed from airplanes, and those people are getting very high doses of glyphosate. They are the guinea pigs. They are the ones who are coming to us and telling us right now what's happening. Sofia Gatica won the Goldman Environmental Prize in 2012 for her work in Argentina, bringing this work to the public. But she suffered a lot. Her daughter died on her 3rd year of life from kidney failure. And when Sofia Gatica decided to do something about it, she went house to house in her area. Here's what she found. Children were being born with deformities. Little babies were being born with 6 fingers, without a jawbone, missing a skull bone, with kidney deformities, without an anus, and a lot of fathers and mothers were contracting cancer. She started a group, the Mothers of Ituzaingó, where she lives, and very soon the doctors in the area became involved. And they started a group, Doctors of Fumigated Towns. Fumigation is what they call pesticide spraying in Argentina. And the medical school got involved, and they had a conference. And they've done big studies, and what they've shown is in the areas of spraying, birth defects and cancer rates have gone up by a factor of 2 to 4. But the Argentine government said, no, that's ridiculous. We have to protect our agricultural model because it's for export and it brings in money. And the United States Embassy, and you may not know this, but we know it from WikiLeaks leaked cables, the United States Embassy, also in Argentina, is backing the biotech effort. So we have all these epidemiological studies in Argentina saying, hey, our children are getting birth defects, some are dying, we're getting more cancer, and then you had the government in the US poo-pooing it, saying it's not true. And then, you know, but the epidemiological studies give you correlation. They don't prove causality. You cannot prove. Enter Dr. Andres Carrasco. Is there anyone in this audience who's ever heard of his name? Probably not. One person, okay? 2 people. He heard it from me today. Andres Carrasco was the head of the molecular biology department at the University of Buenos Aires. And he heard the plea of the Mothers of Ituzaingó. And he heard the plea of the Doctors of Fumigated Towns. And he proved in his laboratory using frog and chick embryos that he could produce the exact same kind of birth defects in the model in the laboratory from glyphosate exposure as we were seeing in the fields. He proved that, and it actually shocked him when he proved it. All of a sudden he had information that supported what the mothers were saying, supported what the doctors were saying, and he could prove in the laboratory. But he went even further. How does it happen? How does it happen that glyphosate causes these terrible birth defects? And he proved how. In embryological development, there is a very important enzyme system called the retinoic acid enzyme system, vitamin A. Some women may be aware that during pregnancy you can't take retinoic acid because it causes birth defects. Okay, it's the same problem. Dr. Carrasco proved that this vitamin A system, which acts as a conductor during early embryological development. Any of you ever been to the symphony? The conductor's standing there. Okay, strings, you come in now. Okay, now oboe, strings, quiet down. Right, he's the conductor. You get a beautiful symphony. Imagine the conductor is hyperactive and out of his mind. That's what happens when the conductor takes the glyphosate, takes the Roundup. The genes don't come in at the right time. They don't come in with the right intensity, and you get all these birth defects. So that's the mechanism, and he proved that. And what is interesting is that vitamin A pathway is present in all vertebrates. You all been to the museum, you've seen a dinosaur, right? You've seen the dinosaur bones. You don't have any trouble recognizing the vertebrae, the spine, or the ribs, or the skeleton. It's all easy for you, right? That dinosaur died 65 million years ago. But nature preserved all of those vertebrate features that we recognize. When nature finds something that works, it uses it again and again. It's very parsimonious. Nature has found that the vitamin A pathway, the retinoic pathway, works very well in embryological development. This system is present in all vertebrates. That means that Roundup can cause birth defects in fish, in mammals, in amphibians, in reptiles, in birds. A huge swath of the animal kingdom has a vertebrae, right, has a backbone. So we now know that this entire, that this chemical can be expected to cause birth defects in the entire vertebrate kingdom. And when Dr. Carrasco learned that and he went public with it, he was attacked not only in the press, he was attacked physically. He was attacked physically when he went, or he had to shut himself in a car, and the car was pounded on for 2 hours, and the people in his entourage, one was beat up and knocked and made paralyzed, the other was knocked unconscious. He touched a nerve. When he died of cancer this past year at the age of 67, cancer of the stomach, a very well-known reporter in the Argentine press said that Andres Carrasco decided to walk with campesinos, fumigated mothers, and peoples in struggle. That's the kind of scientist and doctor I want to be. Andres Carrasco did this experiment in his laboratory, but nature sometimes does experiments too. Like the experiment that happened in Denmark when Mr. Peterson changed his pig feed from non-GM soy to GM soy. One little piggy had a hole in his head. One little piggy was born missing an ear. One little piggy had one large eye. One little piggy had a monstrously large elephant tongue. One female piggy born with testes. Because one of the things glyphosate does is it interferes with the conversion of testosterone to estrogen. All men have some estrogen, all women have some testosterone. That balance is kind of key. You probably want to keep that balance where it is. You probably don't want to take a poison in that interferes with that. And there are lots of known fertility problems in people exposed with glyphosate, male fertility problems, and this may play a role as well. So we know unequivocally that if we're exposed to Roundup, we're going to suffer birth defects. And now we also know unequivocally that it can cause cancer. The folks in Argentina are getting these increases in cancer. But we also know from data in the United States. There was a study done on the Atlantic coast of children with brain cancer. If one or the other of your parents was exposed to Roundup within the 2 years of your birth, your chances as a child of coming up with brain cancer double. We also know from 25 years of research from the World Health Organization, where they've reviewed all the data for the last 25 years, that Roundup is particularly tightly associated with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a cancer, and a particular kind of this cancer. Okay? So here we stand in front of Monsanto, a company that has known since the 80s that their major product causes birth defects at high doses, and it has known since the 90s that it causes birth defects in low doses, and still they maintain it safe. And we are in a position to bring this information now widely to the public. If glyphosate goes, if Roundup goes, half of Monsanto goes with it. Basically all of their great science and theory of what they're doing is based on a fallacy that Roundup is safe, and we know it's not. So I'd like to close with a quote from one of the leaders of our movement, Vandana Shiva.
Yeah.
And she had this to say at the beginning of this year: "We will continue to create the other world that we are sowing, seed by seed, inch by inch of soil, person by person, community by community, till all of this planet is embraced in one circle of resurgent life and resurgent love. We will not give up." I think working for a planet encircled by resurgent life and resurgent love is something worth fighting for. I'm really proud to be here with all of you today, to be taking that stand. And let's make our movement grow. We're on really the upslope of it, and we can change the way agriculture is done in this country and agriculture is done in this world, and get these poisons out of our food system. Thank you very much.